This right here is the best Black Clover chapter in years. This is what we've been waiting for. The color spread for chapter 379, titled Absolute Messiah, is gorgeous. I really like the colors, and the character lineup was surprising. I never would have expected Mimosa to be here instead of Noelle. I was a bit worried that the chapter would focus on these guys, but no. This chapter was a game changer. William and Charlotte, Gauche and Rill, Gray and Vanessa, Charmy, Sekre, and Zora. The Clover Kingdom's forces finally won. All of the Lucius clones were dead. Thanks to Marx's communication magic, all of the kingdom's civilians, from nobles to peasants, witnessed the conclusion with bated breath. But that's when Rebecca noticed something. As a reminder, Rebecca is the girl Asta went on a blind date with way back when. We also saw her cheering Asta on when he saved the kingdom from the ancient demon. This time, she saw something was going on with the Grimoire Towers. Mana was flowing from them and becoming like roots to Lucius's tree-shaped domain. Inside, Asta and Yuno noticed the change immediately. Lucius commended them all for their valiant efforts. But ultimately, the time was finally at hand. This is the advent of the Wizard Emperor. We've been calling him that all along here, so I'm glad it's finally official. Asta asked him if all this time they've just been fighting clones, even the one they just fought tooth and nail to defeat. I mean, you can already see the battle damage on them. The Wizard Emperor admitted that his clones are tedious to make, but they served their purpose by giving him the original time. By having him say this, it lightly establishes that Lucius won't be using any more clones from here on out. And fittingly, as a guy with time magic, stalling for it was his strategy. That time allowed him to connect all of the Clover Kingdom's Grimoire Towers to his ultra-gargantuan spell. Asta wasn't expecting that sort of development. Lucius explained that ever since the dawn of mankind, the land featured studded towers that housed grimoires within, which reminded me of dwarves and the fact that we still know so little about them despite us being at the end of the story here. But maybe it's not too late for Charmy to have a moment. Anyways, he asked them what they think their grimoires truly are. Then he told them that they're wisdom gifted by the gods themselves, that grimoires amplify a person's natural magic and further enhances their spells. Then he explained what happens to a grimoire when a mage dies, along with what happens to the spells they spent their life adding to it. Ultimately, they all go back to the tower that provided them. So now that he's connected to this divine source of wisdom and human development, he can use all of their spells too. Good lord, this man Lucius is a whole Pokemon team. I at least see Moltres, Coughing, Muck, and Arbok. The Phoenix looks to be some sort of old magic from House Vermilion, while the Mercury Snake and Many-Faced Water spell are likely from House Silva. After that, a whole section of the massive construct was quickly demolished. Asta and Yuno braced themselves, but while Lucius was on the move, he wasn't going for them at all. Down below, amidst the rubble, Gerudoru and Revchi, the former captain and former member of the Purple Orca squad, were roaming. They were waiting for things to clear up and were fully intent on surviving. Too bad Lucius had other plans for them. Meanwhile, Marx was with Mimosa while she tended to the wounded. Despite broadcasting the whole invasion, Marx was anxious since he couldn't see what was going on with Asta and Yuno. But oh man, be careful what you wish for. Mimosa wanted to know how many more people needed treatment, but when she turned around to look, Marx was gone. In a flash, Lucius returned with 3 guests. The 3 men were floating ahead of him with their grimoires out. Asta and Yuno recognized them on sight. In the next heartbeat, their eyes widened. Just like that, they were all dead. Lucius did this to demonstrate how grimoires returned to the towers. Asta was angry and repulsed. But before he could finish his sentence, Lucius used Gerudoru's permeation magic to turn himself invisible. Then he used Revchi's chain magic on Yuno. And just like that, his magic was sealed, which also happened in the first chapter. Thankfully, Asta was there to dispel it immediately. And now, with Marx's magic, Lucius would allow the entire kingdom to witness their demise. Everyone looked on in horror. This is actually a lot like how the world watched all the other heroes before seeing Deku fight Shigaraki in the final war of My Hero Academia. But they weren't the only ones watching. Far off, in the land of the sun, Ryuya was seeing it all with his Tengensu eye. And getting a glimpse at the geography here is pretty cool. Ryuya was up to speed with the situation and knew it was time to act. He called out to Fuji, who was quick to respond. The Ryuzen 7 member began using his sound Yojutsu, Fighter's Battle Song. Because he previously marked Asta, the knight would be able to hear him across any distance. Ryuya spoke to Asta and emphasized how bad the situation is right now. Lucius used more Silva family magic, this time alongside some Briar magic from House Roselli. And at this point, Lucius was actually faster than Yuno. He cracked him across the jaw and shattered half of the prince's crown. But just when Asta launched his Aten, the Emperor evaded. Now Ryuya knew for sure that Lucius was avoiding Asta's anti-magic attacks. He also noticed that for some reason, magic was heavily concentrated in the crystal embedded in the man's chest. So it needed to be Asta's target. Asta's Zaten should be able to neutralize the magic no matter how massive it may be. So if he can land one on the crystal, then maybe they can win this thing. Lucius appeared behind Asta and told him that everything will be just fine. He drilled into Asta's defenses with liquid metal and stone while raising a sword with his other arm. The Emperor promised to bring the flaw back to life too. And this time around, he'd bless Asta with the magic that a proper living creature should possess. The Black Bull gritted his teeth. With his arms thrown up, he was vulnerable. Lucius plunged his sword and told the boy to settle down and die already. But Yuno wouldn't let that happen. Star magic brought him close in an instant, and his spirit of Noto shielded Asta in his moment of need. Now, the moment of opportunity had swung in their favor. Asta and Libe went in for the kill. Demon Slasher was inches away from the crystal. But then Lucius did the unthinkable. He brought their mother back to life and used her as a human shield. Seeing and hearing his mother for the first time, something twisted inside of Asta, and Lucius was utterly delighted. Now Ryuya was really sweating. How could Lucius have brought Asta's mother back? He had to wonder if Lucius might have met her somewhere long ago. Then we see where and especially when Lucius met her. This is immediately after she sealed Libe in what would later become Asta's grimoire. Which is to say, that Lucius likely orchestrated that entire backstory. Just how prepared was he for Asta's existence? Oh man, I don't care how many times it is done, I will always love this kind of thoroughly prepared villain. By harnessing his own magic and those of his siblings, Lucius can use blood, flesh, bone, and soul magic to bring back the dead. But thinking back on everything, even if she is just an illusion or not the real thing at all, there is just no way Libe could ever cut his mom. With that, Lucius seized the opportunity. Yuno could only watch in horror as Asta and Libe were both cut across the chest. It happened all over again. When Lucius first revealed himself, he did the exact same thing with Sister Lily, and that allowed him to deliver the same sort of fatal wound on both of them. The sort of wound that only a healer on Mimosa's level could possibly deal with. And even then, we know that Libe's wounds are even harder to heal. Oh man, peak chapter, but now it is time for the next one. The entire kingdom saw them get cut down. Ichika and Ryuya both shouted Asta's name. Yuno was too stunned to react. Rebecca and her siblings, Father Orsi and the orphans, Kalas, Sol, and En, everyone was horrified. But Yami made it clear that even if they kill the kid, there is no way he'll die. Meanwhile, Noelle shouted at Asta to do something now. The Wizard Emperor raised a hand. There was a rumbling. Then, the destroyed guardian angels assumed more terrifying forms. Morris returned as a celestial horror. The same thing happened to Noelle's mom. And this form of hers really reminds me of Delicious in Dungeon. Just after being laid to rest by Yami and Noct, Morgan ascended too. And is it bad that I think his design looks way cooler than Lucius's? With their newfound strength, the Guardian Angels resumed their rampage. Morris venerated his master. Asir was happy to continue tormenting her children. Noelle was horrified, and when he spoke, it was clear that something was very wrong with Morgan's mind. Both Yami and Noct could tell. The thing in front of them wasn't Morgan anymore. Yami cried out in rage. How far would the villain go in twisting people's lives? Lucius left Asta's mother behind him as his guardian angels encircled Asta's body like eager vultures. Lucius acknowledged his mistake in previously assuming Asta was dead. This time, he would make sure of it. Simultaneously, Sylph rushed up. A whole different reserve of power trailed after her. She rejoined Yuno. In an instant, he destroyed the many minions with the same spirit of Boreas. He swiftly engaged Lucius. The mastermind defended himself with a sly grin. Ryuya was impressed. Yuno was already a beast, but now his power was on a whole new level. Lucius knew that it was because he released his Never Neverland Union Magic Zone, the kingdom-spanning buff spell that made everyone stronger. Now, all those benefits are concentrated on him. It's a gamble, but with Asta down, he has to do something drastic or it's all over. As a Magic Knight, he has to believe in his comrades. But besides just that, the Black Bulls used up all their anti-magic. Now they're down to their own power, which still is nothing to scoff at. Magna and Luck were ready to get going. Gray and Vanessa shared their determination, and Gauche couldn't see Asta ever dying. Meanwhile, the less powerful members of their forces weren't so optimistic. The kingdom itself was a reflection of their morale. Mimosa was helpless and distraught as she called out for Yuno and Asta. Lucius and Yuno clashed countless times in the span of an instant. Yuno managed to cut the madman in several places. Lucius was impressed, but healed just as quickly. Then several elemental spells pushed Yuno back and forced him to defend. The Emperor's wicked smile returned. He was already certain of his victory, but there was a flaw in his plan. One that refused to die. Asta reached into his grimoire and told Yuno that the time had come. With a shaking hand, he held onto Demon Dweller and allowed its power to escape. Yuno looked over his shoulder. As he bled out, Asta promised that he would catch up quickly. With a smile, Yuno agreed. Then Asta went limp and Yuno sent him away. Lucius didn't see the point since there was nowhere he couldn't get to. With his half-crown low, Yuno replied that he won't have to chase after Asta, because he'll come back on his own. Just as long as Yuno is here. Oh my lord, Yuno has anti-magic. Demon Dweller in one hand, the Saint Spirit of Zephyr in the other. Devil Union and Spirit Union. Even his star magic has been infused with anti-magic. For Lucius, this has to be nightmare fuel. The next chapter is guaranteed to be hype, but that just makes the months of waiting that much worse. In the comments, let me know if you agree that these chapters were peak. As always, I'm Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.